we'll pass over to our third speaker, Kate Barclay. Hello, Kate, who's appeared, which is always reassuring when people appear on the screen. So Kate is a biochemical engineer who leads a skills and talent program across STEM industries, using her experience within large pharma and small company networks. In particular, there's a focus on early talent programs, so that links to some of the things that we've been hearing already, including apprenticeships and graduate schemes, upskilling and promoting professional development to retain key talent, and the innovative use of digital technologies for immersive training experiences. Kate's early talent programs in science and engineering have received national recognition by professional bodies, industry partnerships, and diversity champions. And Kate is particularly interested in increasing the diversity of the bioscience field and has been championing women in STEM for at least 2 decades. So
that makes me sound really old.
Not at all. So Kate's going to talk to us about skills for a sustainable, economically, environmentally, and socially bioeconomy. Kate, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John. Hopefully, I'm going to share my screen and you should be able to see my slides. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you today about skills for a sustainable bioeconomy. I have only got 10 minutes. I could talk on this subject for a very long time, so I will try and keep myself to 10 minutes. I've got a little clock in the corner here, which is going to keep me on track. So I think because I'm a biochemical engineer and I've worked across the industry for a long time, I really rely on evidence to give me the facts around, what sort of skills do we need and what sort of skills do we need for that sustainable bioeconomy. So there are a number of different publications that have pulled together fairly recently, of which the links are all available on here. So if we look at the Life Science Skills Strategy 2030, this was published at the beginning of 2020, so almost pre-pandemic. There was life before pandemic, and it was a partnership across trade associations and Office of Life Science, which forecasted the need for over 133,000 jobs in life sciences by 2030, which is an incredible amount of new jobs that are required across life sciences. And really looking at what is sustainable, it's talking about new therapies. So what sort of new therapies are coming in and how can we drive the skills for people to enter those fields with new therapy development, research and manufacture. And also looking at the data skills. And I think this speaks a little bit to the labels question that Hephzi was talking through there, in terms of how can we attract people that have got those data skills, those scientific skills, those computational skills into our industry. We're building on a really strong infrastructure. So we've got a really good structure. We've got a really good R&D base within the UK. And a particular passion of mine is around ensuring that we've got new and diverse approaches to attracting that talent. And I'll go through some of those today. So that was sort of at the beginning of 2020. 2021, Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult published their skills demand survey, so towards the end of 2021, and that looked at what sort of skills are required across the advanced therapies manufacturing arena. So they really forecast that actually in this one specific area of new therapies, we require over 10,000 new bioprocessing jobs by 2026. And again, that's an incredible number of people that we need to come into our sector. Where are we going to get those people from to sustain the manufacturing within the UK? It's about the development and manufacture of those new cell and gene therapies, and a lot of that overlaps with some of the vaccine development that we've seen recently as well. And the timing of those skills is now. That's till 2026, which is only really 3-4 years away. So we need those skills now. And this is where some of those diverse approaches come in, because if we wait for graduates to come through our academic system, we could be missing a trick here. We could be 3 or 4 years down the line. And we haven't filled those positions. So those new approaches to workforce development are really needed now. And that could be around the apprenticeship programme, and I'll come on to some of that, or it could be around people transferring their skills from other sectors, from perhaps those that are in decline, coming into working for new therapies. I do work with the BioIndustry Association, and we have our Genomics Nation report that's recently published. Again, there's a link on it on the slide here. And this looks at a really high growth genomics sector. There are a lot of companies in this area that are in the really early stages of development, with about 3,500 skilled employees within the sector, and a really high proportion of spin-outs. So these are sort of the newer companies that are coming in, thinking about those new modalities and those new therapies. You know, a third of those are new spin-outs, but at least 2/3 of those companies are saying that it's really difficult to recruit, really difficult to get that talent and those skills coming into the sector. And again, it's really difficult to recruit now. So if we want a sustainable bioeconomy, we need to be having these skills in our sector now. And a lot of the focus on here is around the computational and data science skills within the context of biology. And I think this speaks a little bit to that sort of major minor kind of context of our academic programs, in terms of thinking about what are our biologists learning around the computational skills, and what are our computational and our data scientists learning about the context of biology. And the final report that I have here is the latest third quarter finance report, because I think there's a lot of talk about the funding within the sector, and thinking about, economically, are we sustainable? So our latest finance report, and we do this every quarter, the latest finance report for the third quarter of 2022 says that there is still a huge amount of investment. It might have leveled off, but there's still a huge amount of investment. So 1.5 billion for the first 3 quarters of 2022 have been put into UK-based biotechs. Now, it's nearly 15 billion raised in VC globally, but the UK is a really strong part of that. Seed funding is really stable, and private capital is down slightly, but overall throughout 2022 there is still an incredible amount of investment going into biotech. So we really do need to make sure that we've got skills to sustain that, and particularly sustain that within the UK. So if I think about what sort of skills are needed to sustain, I've talked a little bit about those new therapies. So the cell and gene therapy report, which is the data that's on the left, we did the survey in 2019, and you can see the data there from 2019 was fairly small. And when we published the report, we got a lot of feedback to say that we were being overly ambitious in the forecasting. And then when we did the report again in 2021, you can see that actually we weren't being overly ambitious. We were actually being underrepresented, and actually the numbers that are in bioprocessing within cell and gene therapy are far more than we thought they were, and actually forecast to grow by over 151% in the next 3 to 4 years. So an incredible amount needed. So what we have put in place is we've worked with the advanced therapies community and developed an apprenticeship program, which brings talent in from early career as well as from changing careers into cell and gene therapy. So it might be people who are moving from maybe small molecules or biologics into cell and gene therapy, and it's also new talent, so attracting students who are coming from their GCSEs or their A-levels into cell and gene therapy, whether they're into early research or whether they're going into development or manufacturing roles. And that's increased the numbers of people coming through. Still got an incredible amount of work to do. We're looking at obviously our graduates and our postgraduate programs, but it's started to fix some of those leaks within that pipeline of where we are seeing people move out of the sector, or even not even consider the sector to be going into. We also developed our Advanced Therapy Skills and Training Network, which is a combination of training programs. It's an online training platform to upskill and reskill people coming into the sector, as well as 3 national training centres across the UK, one in Scotland, one in the University of Birmingham, and one in Stevenage, and one in the northeast, so there's 4, sorry, and one in the northeast of England. And they're looking at both the digital training, so virtual reality training, and also physical lab training and bioprocessing training. So we need people coming through who have these new skills for new therapies. And also you'll see in the news that the CPI up in the northeast have had investment in a new RNA training academy, which really tries to unlock some of that new technology and develop skills within new RNA manufacturing. If we think about what skills are also needed, we need to think about new technologies. And we had our annual bioprocessing conference last week, and there was a great session around all the different sorts of new technologies that are out there. And if you think about, some of these are about growing vaccines in plants. How can we have the sort of production line of the vaccines, but made through our leaf expression systems? we need to be looking at how do we solve some of the issues around sort of climate change with things like sustainable meats. And Rosalind Technologies did a great presentation around sustainable meats. Also thinking about how do we develop those skills and the passions in people to develop new plastics and new technologies. So as an industry, we use a lot of single-use plastic, and Green Elephant did a great presentation around some of the technologies there. And also thinking about, who's going to come up with those new innovations. So Gelagen did a great presentation around extraction of collagen from jellyfish. And so thinking about, those new technologies and how do we bring in the innovation skills, the entrepreneurial skills, but also the skills to think about development of these new technologies. And the other part of the new technologies for me is the tech bio sector. So this is the data-driven drug discovery or data-driven discovery of all sorts of new modalities. And we've got a lot of companies that are now in this space, and this is in the space where we've got machine learning and AI programs really driving the discovery of what are the next molecules, what are the next things that we need to be looking for. And we had a tech bio conference last month, and we've just released the tech bio report. So there's an awful lot of companies who are in this area now and are really growing. But how do we build the skills so that these are the sorts of companies that can grow, can be sustainable, and can develop those next generation of new modalities? And I think the final one for me is just thinking about those new routes. So I've talked about apprenticeships already, and we've talked about apprenticeships for both people coming into the sector from maybe from school or from college, and people coming into the sector from maybe that they've wanted to transfer into the sector from another sector that's maybe in decline, or actually just having a change of heart in terms of the career. But there's all sorts of other things and programs that are on the go at the moment. And two I picked out here that we've been heavily involved in. So things like local skills improvement plans are really looking at how do local schools and colleges really engage with the employers in their area and help drive the skills that we need within those colleges. So how do we partner with colleges and universities to fix that leaky pipeline within a local setting? And it's thinking about we've had quite a disjointed approach in our schools and college systems around the employer skills that are needed. So how do we join that up, and how do we work together? And in particular, I'm based in the Hertfordshire area, so we've got a big focus on life sciences. And we have an industry panel working together with the colleges and the universities in the region, building those skills and developing that talent pipeline all the way through from primary school to secondary school, through the college system, and then maybe onto university and also apprenticeship. So really trying to fix the holes in that pipe. And the other piece of work that we've been doing is aligning with the universities. In particular here, I've pulled out the Global Business School for Health at UCL, which recently launched their initial programs. And those programs are really looking at those interdisciplinary skills. So it's looking at business and it's looking at health as one program. So one of the programs in particular that we're very focused on is an MSc in biotechnology and entrepreneurialism. So that's around building the skills, not only the scientific skills, but those entrepreneurial and those business skills. And we've got a number of business mentors and business leaders who are supporting the program and delivering those courses in terms of the content and really ensuring that students get access to the industry and can see the sorts of people that are in those roles, but also the sorts of things that they're up to within business. And there's all sorts of other programs as well. But I think the interdisciplinary nature of that health and that business is really helping drive a really different sort of skill set. So for me, if we're going to have a sustainable bioeconomy, we really need to think about the sort of investment that's going in, and there still is investment, but we need to think about making sure that we've got skills coming through that can really look at the new technologies, really look at those new modalities, and also look at potentially the new routes and the new career pathways that we can generate through careers into science. So I think that's my 10 minutes. So thank you very much, and I'll hand back to Jon.
Thank you very much, Kate. That was really insightful. It's fascinating to hear the work that's going on and the identification of the vast number of jobs that are coming on stream and that we're going to need. I mean, it's far more than I've ever imagined. So I think that's a real challenge for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.